From the shores of beautiful Lake Coeur d'Alene in the heart of North Idaho. Local, regional, national, and international guests discuss their topics on our forum. The North Idaho College Public Forum. With your host and moderator, political scientist, Tony Stewart.
I want to welcome all of you to our program today, and we're going to be discussing the building of self-esteem in children. We're most fortunate to have a returning guest who was with us a couple of years ago, and I certainly can testify to the fact that she is extremely articulate and very informative, not only on self-esteem issues for children, but for all of us and how we grow up to be who we are through our childhood. I welcome to the program Dr. Alexandria Dallas Abrams. She has a PhD in psychology, and she has a company called ABC Feelings. She's often known for her work as a motivational speaker, a psychological counselor, and she publishes very fine works for both children and adults. Dr. Dallas Abrams, welcome to the program. It was such a pleasure having you here before, and I look forward to today's interview.
That was a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Time passes fast.
Wow.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You're very kind to be with us.
My pleasure.
And I'm very pleased to have our regular panelist, Janelle Burke, who is an attorney in the state of Idaho, and I shall ask Janelle to commence the questioning today with our guest.
Good.
Welcome back to our program. It's
Thank you.
fun always to talk with you about this important subject, the esteem of children and individuals as well. You have a theory, and that is that feelings are energy. Can you explain what you mean about that?
Wow. Well, feelings are energy. Actually, if you look at it, everything is energy. Everything is made up of molecules and atoms that are all vibrating at different rates. And the feeling of joy is an energy, and it uplifts us. The feeling of depression is an energy, and it depletes us. It takes away. It actually vibrates at a very dense, low energy, while the feeling of joy has more of a finer, higher vibration, frequency to it. So everything is frequency, everything is vibration. One is not better than the other, and that is so key, because we tend to believe that it's better to be one way than the other. But if we can allow ourselves to feel the quote-unquote depression or the annoyance or irritation or feeling of low self-esteem when we're feeling it, and we can explore what it's about, we come to learn the blueprint of our life and how we got to be the way we are.
Now let's relate that to children.
Yes.
And tell us, how does feelings are energy relate to children?
Well, children are sponges, for one thing. They pick up everything, even when they're in the womb. They pick up everything. Sounds, voices, energy. And they make decisions at some level about themselves, about their lives, about their future. When children are little, they observe parents interacting. They observe people coming into their house. They observe siblings interacting, television, school, you name it. And that is the foundation of our life. That is forming the emotional DNA. And it stays with us, and it can often sabotage us as adults, because those beliefs that we acquired at that young age may have worked for us. And an example might be of a young child who sees parents fighting and believes and comes to the conclusion themselves that they had better be quiet, otherwise they were going to get in trouble. It comes down to our own survival. So they learn to shut their feelings down. It's not safe to share. So it's so crucial, those early years. And I have my own research that I've done for 5.5 years, particularly with a protocol that I use called neurophysical reprogramming. And I have my own research working with clients that, without exception, every single situation goes back to an earlier childhood experience.
In your work and your research, you're certainly indicating that I hope I'm using proper terminology, we get programmed
You bet.
in relation to who we become as we evolve into as an independent individual making decisions. Could you share with us also your opinion that once we are so programmed, and we may be very subconsciously doing many things that we have not either taken time or don't have the ability to analyze, share with us how one can deal with that with help from people like you. I guess I would call it reprogramming yourself. Is that possible?
It's true. That's the protocol I use. It's called neurophysical reprogramming. And it's really not new because it's based on the 5-element theory of acupuncture, which is ancient, thousands of years old. It's based on kinesiology, which is muscle testing. It's based on a high-potency homeopathic remedy. Homeopathics are something different than allopathic, a form of healing. Also old, and it's based on sound. The frequency of emotions can balance a meridian that carries energy, and it can dissolve issues. Okay, so as I've explored a client's issue, we go back using this protocol and explore their emotional DNA from the time they were little, when it was picked up, from whom it was picked up, from mother or father. And then the key questions are, what would someone have to believe in order to experience that particular emotion? So it's really an exploration of our belief systems and how we got to be the way we are, what makes us tick. A belief system. There are people who live in this community who feel that it's better to have blue eyes and white skin. That's their belief. There are people who belong to a club that have a space in between their teeth that believe that they are the chosen people. It's an international club. You see, there are people on and off, back and forth. Don't you go a little nutty trying to figure out, okay, is cholesterol good for me? Can I have this butter or not? You read another article, well, okay, it's fine now. You read another one a week later, it's not fine. It's all beliefs. What works for us, what doesn't. We drag our beliefs that are sabotaging from our childhood, and those beliefs are based on repressed feelings.
One example I would like to use, very pragmatic, and doing the program with the viewers, the issue of sound that you brought up is one of the criteria. What came to mind would be two different individuals and reared in two different types of homes. In one home where there's great conflict, not only physical violence, but constant verbal abuse and yelling, and so forth. Another family is very tranquil and very respectful. Would that be an example of how those two individuals then in life would be programmed so differently?
Absolutely. And I don't know, you may have heard the story, I've told it many times, but the story of the twin boys who grew up together, and one was interviewed, became an adult and was interviewed, and is very highly respected individual in the community. And they said, gosh, how did you get to be this way? And his response was, well, what do you expect with a alcoholic father that I had? Well, they interviewed the other son who was living basically on Skid Row, and they asked him the same question. What do you think with the alcoholic father that I had and the abuse that was in our home? Okay? There were two boys living in the same home.
Yet different results.
Yes.
That's what's puzzling, isn't it?
It's not puzzling when you realize that we are unique, special, and we have our own journey. Our soul has our own journey. As a parent, our 3 children are very different. I've done my best to guide them, to clear my stuff so they don't have to have that projected onto them. And so I can allow them to grow. A rose grows differently than a daffodil. Okay, so that's a job of a parent. That's the responsibility of a parent. That's the responsibility of an individual when they go into a union, in a marriage. Clear your stuff so you bring a pure person to the union.
I got one more question before I go back to Janelle.
Yeah.
I'm always envious we don't have more time with you, but what I want to pursue just one step further is that is confusing to me is that we know that the conditions in which that you are reared as a child is very crucial, but yet we have this example of these two brothers who, even though that condition that they both were under would affect them, but also at the same time there is a different result. So is there more than one thing going on? That is the condition of the family with the alcoholic father, but there are other factors. Otherwise, they would turn out the same.
Attitudes, beliefs, and choices. What is our attitude? What attitude do we take? Do we choose to acquire with a situation like that?
Even though it's the same situation.
Exactly. What are we going to do with it? Our greatest challenge in that moment can be our greatest triumph if we only see it that way. That's an attitude. Viktor Frankl said when they took his wedding ring from him in the concentration camp, "You can take my wedding ring from me, but you can't take away from me the way I feel about you doing that." That's power. We give our power away too much in our society, in our lives, in our families, in interacting. We are powerful beings. Speak it, claim it. Look at our attitude, explore it. Look at our belief system. Look to see what choices we're making at any moment. One can take us this direction and another can take us that direction. I had an opportunity to witness an autopsy. I didn't have the opportunity. I took it. I created it. And I witnessed this autopsy in Spokane. It was a young boy, middle 30s, early 30s. And his car he was going 135 miles an hour, and it crashed, it rolled. And I looked at him lying on this stainless steel bed platform. And I just was looking at him, and I couldn't help but recognizing that every choice that he had made in his life brought him to that table at that moment. Every choice we make. We have the power of our thought. What are we going to think? Are we going to make somebody wrong? If we're making somebody wrong and we get off on doing that, guess who's right? What kind of an investment do we have in blame rather than taking responsibility? Coming in here today, I saw the signs that said in the parking lot, staff parking. And I noticed there were several places, and it was a little late, and I thought, well, maybe this area isn't really for staff. And this voice said, yes, it is. And so I said, okay, I'm going to find a place. Universe, find a place for me. I went out. I found a place right on the street. I live with that kind of integrity in my life. And I'm not saying I'm wonderful and all this good stuff, I'm just saying that is the way I live my life. And the results of it are what I want to experience, because I have a lot of joy and incredible blessings in my life every day.
Thank you, Janelle Burt.
Long answer.
That's a good answer.
In recent times, there have been some very unfortunate situations in schools where students have done something, maybe perhaps shot other students, brought bombs into the school, whatever the case may be. Can you help us understand why that kind of behavior occurs?
Well, that's been something that's been in the news, I guess, for quite a while now. And let's see, I'm trying to think of a condensed way of saying this. I think we spend a lot of time looking at the outer world rather than the inner world. What is going on in our child? How do they think about a situation? How do they feel about it? What are their thoughts about it? What opinions do they have to offer about where we're going to go for the weekend as a family? How much are they included? And again, from my research and understanding and what I've been exposed to and have understood about a variety of situations, it seems as though there is a lack of understanding, compassion, recognition, respect, and it starts again when they're very young. Teenagers need us more than ever.
And what you're saying is we have to be in contact with the feelings we have, or else we become more and more isolated and alone.
This is what children are looking for. And not only children, we are all looking and wanting to feel connected.
So in the business place, it's important too, to
Oh,
have
yes.
feelings.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. And to respect what your employer is saying, and employee, and to interact and give your employee the space to say, I'm just feeling really overworked right now, and I need a couple hours to myself to go be quiet, or still, or go out and play a tennis game. Maybe I'm too idealistic, but it seems to me as though we can have that kind of relationship, and it takes each and every one of us to do it. Because that employer can say, well, at what level are you? What's the state of this project you're working on? And you become more geared into results rather than 9 to 5 kind of production. In other words, you create the results, whatever it takes to create it, and it may look very different than what somebody is used to. We got to start thinking out of the boundaries.
This whole process involves communication between individuals that you're certainly addressing. How do we become better as individuals in communicating with others by identifying where they're at in the moment, in the feelings? Maybe the best way to approach this would be for you to discuss with us some of the different emotions that people have, and are we much more willing to identify certain emotions than we are others, both in ourselves and in others?
Oh, sure. How do we do it is by listening. What first comes, you have to listen. And what does it take to listen? It takes, like one little 5-year-old boy said, first of all, you look in each other's eyes, and then you stop talking, and then you listen. 5 years old. So there is that is an art, because how often we are ready to have the next answer when somebody's responding to us. So that is a key point right there. And we all have emotions. I was at a first grade classroom last week in Ketchum, where I've opened up an office. And the teacher put the poster on the table, on the floor, and gave the child a pointer. And each child was to say how they were feeling. And one little boy pointed at sad, and he started crying, just burst into tears and said, I'm feeling so sad. My friend moved away, and I don't know when I'm going to see him. That's a real feeling for a child.
And encouraging to express it.
That's right. And sometimes parents, and this teacher didn't even know that he was feeling that to that degree. And he was very deeply feeling grief about it. Another boy pointed also to sad. He didn't start crying, but he said, I'm feeling sad today because my parents are divorcing and my father's moving to Boise. So also something she didn't know about. A parent should tell teachers this type of thing, what's going on in their child's life. Teacher spends all those hours together with the child. She needs to know. They need to know what's happening. And these tools help a child to get in touch with it, to recognize it, and to share it. In fact, one little boy came, and when she was bringing the children to the poster, this one little boy came in and he says, oh, this is my favorite time of day when we talk about feelings. See, they're fresh with children. They're right there. And that energy stays with us, as we were talking about a little bit earlier. As adults, there's still the child. There's still the 5-year-old Tony that lives in there. There's still the 12, 13-year-old Janelle that's in there that maybe sometimes feels a little rebellious once in a while, It's all fine. It's to honor that.
One other question, and we don't have time to go through the whole thing, but one of the things you do too that I find very helpful, and your chart that you have there is related to that. A through Z, and each letter is a way of communicating a particular feeling. Could you give us just 4 or 5 examples?
Sure. Well, we've carried that theme into the Feeling Storybook, and I think what's so fun about this little book is to realize there's a little story in each one. Little Danielle is feeling disappointed because she's dropped her ice cream cone, and she saved her money to buy the ice cream, and now it's on the ground and the dog is eating it. So there's a question at the bottom: what do you think Danielle is going to do now? And again, I go into schools and I read the stories to children. One little 6-year-old said she could use her credit card. Very inventive. And this was another very interesting story. Oh, another little boy said she could go back inside and talk to the person who gave her the ice cream and tell the person what happened. See, it's right there. Another one we worked with is W is for worried. And this little girl, Wendy, is late for school. She's going to be late if she doesn't leave, and her mother's talking on the telephone. And so she's feeling impatient, and she's worrying. She wants to leave now. So the question is, to help children think. Hear their answers, be there to hear their answers, and then honor them. Oh, that's interesting that you have that answer. So it's what do you think Wendy should do to solve her problems? And these children, one after another, their answers were so independent. They said she should put her lunchbox on her bike and ride to school. She should call her dad. And then I said, well, what if the school is far away and it's too far to ride? He said, well, she could take a taxi. Get them to think. The Socratic method. The most important thing that you can offer a child is a question. Get them to think. So that's what these little questions do. And then we have P is for feeling peaceful. Q is for feeling quizzical. How does this dryer work? Does it work with the door open or the door closed? And little Brandy is feeling responsible because he's taking care of his fish. And here's Yolanda. She's feeling this is a very yucky job because she's spilled her basket of groceries and she's got eggs on the floor. They're sort of yucky.
That's a good example of yucky.
Kids love that one too.
Clever. Well, it's just so creative. And one of the points I'd make and go to Janelle, and that is, unfortunately, every parent's not going to be communicating with the teachers what's happening to the child that day, or maybe sometimes even the parent doesn't know. So what is very wonderful about your work here is that it gives the teacher the opportunity to find that out and be helpful. Because learning, obviously, is different depending on the attitude of the child.
That's right. And one other thing, you mentioned feelings, the 26 feelings here. I have to share, this is a 650-word feeling dictionary. So yes, we all have feelings. Feelings are universal. It's like the smile is the language, of the soul, and it speaks everywhere around the earth. Feelings are universal.
Thank you. Janelle Bird.
I loved what you were saying about helping children to identify what they're feeling, because I think so often it's difficult to put it into words. It might be there inside,
yes,
but for little children, it's very difficult to express some of that.
Sure.
So it becomes suppressed.
Mm-hmm. Teach them. This is a glass. This is a book, just the same way you would. This is your shoe. Help them to learn what they're feeling by you sharing your feeling.
And how important, though, is it to rid yourself of that old baggage as you get older, those suppressed feelings that children have?
Well, if I were to just share a portion of the issues that clients come into me with, I had emergency situation, panic attacks. Panic attacks. You can't function when you're having panic attacks. And I saw this woman 2 times. And she's free from panic attacks. It's been over 2 weeks now. She hasn't had any issue with this because she got to the truth. She got to some repressed feelings inside of her. What was so beautiful, too, is that she had a very, very, very painful childhood with her father. She called her father after the first session we had together and told him that she loved him. And he was just astounded. He was very deeply touched. They've had a very challenging relationship, okay? What happens, Janelle, is that your body will retain those emotions and they will act like an anchor on a boat. That anchor acts like a drag on a particular gland or organ, and it doesn't allow it to function and energize and move and do what it's supposed to do. Anger gets stored in the liver. Resentment gets stored in the gallbladder. Grief is held in our lungs. So if you're having maybe asthma attacks or something, it's an opportunity to look in your body about grief in your life and breathing in the goodness of life, the joy that you deserve. And so dis-ease, there's a lack of flowing, lack of energizing. The organ is not functioning and energized properly because of those resisted emotions. All we have to do is tell the truth about them. Be brave. B is for feeling brave, and tell the truth about them.
So important then for children in school.
It is.
Because if they can't be in touch with their feelings, it's dragging them back to be able to move forward with their studies and other things.
So glad you said that, because they can't learn. Bernie Siegel has said it. Dr. Bernie Siegel has said it. Many, many people have said it. A child cannot function, cannot feel totally present when they are worried about something, when they've left home and their parents are arguing, when something was happening in the carpool. I have a young gal who's coming to see me who is struggling with math. She's got some early programming from a second grade teacher.
I've got the feeling we're almost out of time, and I don't want to leave the program without, if it's your permission, let people know how they get in touch with you.
Oh, sure.
I'll give two things. Your address, I believe it's Post Office Box 2377 in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho at 83816, and you can be reached at the telephone number 208-762-3177. I know there are parents and teachers that would like.
There is an 800 number.
Okay, we can give that.
That's 800-745-3170.
Thank you for doing that, because others may want to talk to you about this process.
Sure, and I'm happy to talk to them.
On behalf of Janelle Burke and our staff, we want to thank you, Dr. Alexandria Dallas Abrams, for being with us today. It's been most informative. We hope you'll come back at some time in the future.
Let's not wait 2 years again.
No, let's do not. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you have found this program extremely informative to you, and so many wonderful suggestions about the rearing of children and ourselves and what we learn in life. I want to invite you to be with us again next week when we will move to yet another issue. Until that time, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
North Idaho College Public Forum is the longest-running public television show of its type in North America and is seen in 7 states and 2 Canadian provinces. Each episode is pre-recorded live and is an educational community outreach from North Idaho College. Please join us again at this same time next week for another new edition of North Idaho College Public Forum on this public television station.